Yeah,
Come back from
Safawi.
work.
He was at
Oh,
from Terengganu, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Again, bodoh gila. Yeah. As usual.
So because you before this play for Major League Soccer, right, in US, how you see the difference between National League? How you can describe about Major League Soccer and National Super League?
Um. Well, so Canada and US is a very sporting country, right? So football isn't the best sport, right? Because you still got baseball, hockey, basketball, American football. So you get sports fans. So when I compare the fans, I still remember we were defending a corner, and then our ultras behind the goal would say defense, defense. That's a chant in basketball, you know. So, and I still remember the first time I heard it, I was like, are they doing a basketball chant at our stadium? What the hell is this? Like, because in Europe, it's all songs and like chanting players' names and stuff like that. So for me, the difference was sports fans and not football fans. I know it's all obviously slowly all changing because I'm only talking about the experiences that I had. I'm not talking about how it is now. But with all these big stars going, MLS is changing. But like I said, MLS is not a FIFA sanctioned league, so you can trade players whenever you want. And I got traded because Michael Bradley was American captain at that time, quite a big player. He was our midfield player, but he was going away with the World Cup, so they needed a replacement for him. And Montreal had the player that Toronto wanted, and they said, "Well, we only trade this player if you give us Issey." And they were like, "Well, Issey's doing well, so we don't want him to go. We still have four other wingers. Take one of them. We got a Brazilian, Spanish, and whatever." And they said, "No, we want Issey." So that's when they were like, "Okay, Issey, you're doing well, and now you're scoring the winning goal in the semifinal. If I go to Montreal, and the final was Montreal versus Toronto. If I go to Montreal, I can't play the final." So that's why I was pissed off too. I'm like, I scored the winning goal, so we go to the final, and I'm not allowed to play. And then Montreal won, so I was like celebrating with Montreal, like, yeah, screw you, Toronto. But so they have that weird system of like trading system. No other country does it, only the US. And so again, that has a big factor because the teams can change, because somebody in Dallas wants to, the coach wants a guy from Dallas, they'll try and do a whatever deal, and suddenly this guy's here, and suddenly your buddy that you're sitting next to suddenly is gone, and suddenly his whole life has to move to a whole different city. And also away games are 7-hour flights. You could be playing in Toronto in minus 10 degrees, and suddenly you're playing in Las Vegas. So you can go from super cold weather, 4 days later you're in the desert. So it's very hard to adjust as a player. And there's private jets, as travel with buses. You can only select so many times, but and then you have these big stars. Like I was playing with Jermaine Defoe at the time, and Julio Cesar, Michael Bradley, but there is that gap. Like these four guys could earn whatever the club can afford, and everybody had a cap. So we were all, and for the first time, I was the local player. I was the Canadian player playing in Canada. So it's strange knowing there's that much of a gap. I mean, there's always gaps. You always have a star player, and then but doesn't mean like the other guys are earning. Like I'm just saying the MLS, the gap is immense. So, in majority of the European countries, it's not like that. So for that, the mentality in the changing room is a little weird. So yeah, that was a little weird. What else was there? The whole league is sponsored by Adidas, so we're all wearing Adidas at the time. I was sponsored by Diadora. I think that's it, man. I can't think of anything else. But every country has their problem when it comes to the football progress. And Canada, our problem was that we didn't have a league. We're playing in America. So Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto is playing in the American League. And so any young player that wants to be a professional, you got 3 teams to aspire for. and every club is super professional. For recovery, we got the jet pools. You have your hot and cold saunas and your ice baths and everything you can think of is there. They look after your breakfast and your lunch. They control that, so they know you're being healthy. And for dinner, at least you can do whatever you want, but at least for breakfast and lunch, they control that. So every small detail is looked after. And then when we talk about Malaysia, like majority of things I've already said. So every country has their problem, Japan has their problem, Australia has their problem, Cyprus too. So
for point of your view, that's you think Malaysia players suitable to play at major soccer league or have chance maybe one day?
yeah, I mean, there's no rule for like in England, there's a rule, right? For so many, you have to play national team within the last whatever years, and I think it's more than 75% of the national team games. If you play for that, then you get a chance, and your country has to be in the top, I think 20 or something. And Malaysia has to be way down there, right? Unless you have an EU passport, if you're a dual citizen, then it's also different. But for Malaysian to go over there, like level wise, I want to see more Malaysians playing abroad, so they know what it's like to play for a professional mentality teammate, professional mentality club. So can you hear that?
Yeah,
construction? Sorry about that. Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay.
Close, but
It's okay.
yeah. So sorry. So I want them to experience that, like, the pressure from the fans. Even if we lost, I still remember in Denmark, if we lost, and I remember it was like my 23rd whatever birthday, I went out with the guys to a restaurant, and it was like 9 p.m. But there was just two guys, and I'm like with 8 guys, 9 guys, and these 2 guys threw the glass ashtray. He just threw it, and it almost hit me. And I see it rolling around on the floor. I'm like, because it went bang and rolled around. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I see it, and I realize what it is. And I look back. There's 2 guys with the scarves, with the club scarf, saying, "You boys go home," because we lost that. We lost the game. The game before that we won, but because we lost the game, even though they're ultras or hardcore fans, it's different. They hate you. I mean, I'm sure it is like that in Malaysia too, but it's not as bad as Europe. I thought people were very nice in Terengganu and said, "Oh, better luck next time," So, but it's also the attitude that you leave on the pitch. It depends how you lose, And I was always the player that left everything on the pitch, so I was. We're good with the fans, but certain cities are still tough. But yeah, I do. So going back to your question, I do want to see more Malaysian guys playing in Japan, Australia, MLS. But to do so, well, I am studying for my agenting exam for September. So I hope I am the guy to say, "Yo, guys, I'm an agent now. Let me introduce you to some of these places." Because my friends are now coaches or sports directors, so it's funny how as long as you keep playing and meeting all these people start to become coaches and sports directors. So that's why I never really wanted to be an agent, but it makes sense because I want to help some of these players, and I need the license. So
because you say in Pahang you close with Matthew Davis and Muadi Sumare, right?
Yeah.
You still contact with them because right
guys.
now both them play for national team, our national team Malaysia.
Yeah, I don't know about Mo playing for the national team, but Matt, yes.
Still contact with them?
No, but yeah, still talk to them every now and then. They're looking sharp. They're looking. I'm happy that they get to experience professionalism. Because I did play against Matt in Australia when I was at Brisbane Roar.
Okay.
And apparently Mo was in Denmark when I was playing in Denmark. So it was funny how, football is a small world, and we connected and go along really well. And once teammates, your teammates for life. So I know I've always had that mentality. So I'm hoping they'll come to Barcelona for a visit, or I go to Malaysia for a visit. So whichever comes first.
Because at Pahang have a one player at that time I think 20 years old, Faisal Halim. You remember Faisal Halim
Yeah,
that time
little
at Pahang?
guy.
Because the
Yeah,
little guy,
he's
right now is a
yeah,
very important player to our national team. Is a key player right now.
yeah. He's. I mean, you could see his talent back then. He was a sick player, and he had even though how small he was, his confidence
Yeah.
was huge. You know, and to see such confidence in a small guy and not get bullied off the ball and still have the technique. I mean, I always thought he was a great player, and it's so nice to see. I mean, I send him a message every now and then on his Instagram saying, "I'm so proud of you, man," kind of thing. So I'm happy he's doing well, and especially for the national team too. He's a very creative player. So yeah, I'm happy for him. He needs to bulk up though, and I want to see him like get a little bit bulkier. Like, what's that Swiss player who played at Liverpool? He was a Swiss player, the Swiss main winger. He was a super short guy, but he was like bulk. You know which guy?
Shaqiri.
Shaqiri. Yeah,
Yeah, Shaqiri.
that's what he should be. The Malaysian version of Shaqiri.
Oh.
You know, just get him on the bench. Yeah.
You see that the potential lah when you at Pahang before this.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys in Malaysia that have good technique, especially the small guys. And football is really the only sport where size doesn't really matter. You know, you don't have to be this huge macho guy or super tall. So, yeah, I'm glad he's doing. I'm glad he's doing well. He's got the creativity and the awareness, and a big smile and great character. Great character.
Before you retired, you have you got offer maybe from national team before you left Pahang and Terengganu.
Yeah,
National
I
team.
think PDRM gave me a contract. I signed it, and then they canceled it. So I was like, "What? You can't do that." But yeah, apparently, well, I didn't chase it to be honest, because Canada was on the line too. But yeah, PDRM, I was supposed to go there, and I wanted to stay in Malaysia. To be honest, I didn't. You know, I've already gone through the Canadian. I hate to say, but Canadian bullshit, and being a national team player, I wanted to go back to Canada. I would have did that, so I didn't want to do it again. You know. But it was my friends who was the owners of the club and everything. So, and ex national team players, you know, owning clubs and stuff. So I said, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, I'll come and help. You know, first bit of excitement, new league, called the CPL, Canadian Premier League. I want to see Malaysian guys go there too, because it's strictly young players, because they're looking for the next Alphonso Davies, you know, to send to Bayern Munich, you know. So, but yeah, I wanted to stay in Malaysia, to be honest. I'm still playing amateur football over here, so I'm saying I'm still fit.
When you become an
39
agent, you need to come here to bring our player go out, play outside.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to accomplish. Just we'll see which player. I mean, there's obviously some guys. There was that what's his name? The winger. He just came back to JDT recently.
Safawi.
Yeah, Safawi. He was at from Terengganu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you know, I remember when he was at TT.
TT. Yeah.
And I was thinking, yeah, this guy's got pace. He's electric down the line. I think I had a fight with him because, you know, we were the Terengganu and he's the TT. So, and I remember, I think we won that. I can't remember, but I'm still having a bit of beef with him. So I was like, and I remember at the end of the game, like, yeah, you got yourself, you know, a bright future. You're a good player, bro, kind of thing. I can see him, but sorry, where did he go before he just came back to JDT?
Ratchaburi, in Thailand.
And how was it? How did he do there?
I think the performance is average. After he come back from Portugal loan, the performance a bit drop. So I think right now he's need to gain more confidence back. We miss Safawi. I think the prime 2018, 2019 is good at the top level at that performance.
How old is he now?
Right now, I think still with JDT, but more in bench lah. Not
no, but how old is he?
Right now, I think 25.
25. Okay.
25.
Well, his peak is coming up in a few years, so yeah, he'll be a complete player in a few more years. But yeah, again, so when he went to Portugal, how did he do?
Portugal, I
Yeah,
think
I couldn't really find any news or anything. So,
that's short-term loan only. I think for 5 months.
and how did he do? I would expect him to kill it.
Don't have game time. Just
No,
training.
eh? Wow, that's
On the bench
that's
only.
surprising. Yeah,
Uh,
that's surprising. But again, he's a guy that should be going to Australia. You know, because from Malaysia, there's not too many places where you can go. And Australia, if you do well there, you have potentially MLS. You do MLS now. Now I think European clubs will take you a little bit more serious. Because I remember, like in Singapore, I mean, I would say Malaysia, the league is obviously way better than Singapore, but I still remember getting Young Player of the Year award in Singapore, and then I went to Crystal Palace and Portsmouth because the coaches that I had when I was as a kid was there at that time, and they said, "Oh, we didn't know Singapore played football," and that's what they said to me. They said, "Oh, Young Player of the Year, the Singapore plays football." That is. So, and that's really the mentality in Europe, because Europe is the center of football, right? Every other country, it doesn't matter. If you're going for money, or if you're going to Saudi Arabia for money, if you're going for other reasons, understandable. But football, respected football, is in Europe. No matter what people say, you know, the Champions League is the greatest level in football. So that's where, if you're an aspiring player, that's the stage you want to play at. I don't know why I said that, but what was the question?
Okay, we move the last part. The last part
Yeah,
for national team, because I think you play over 40 caps, right, for Canada. So maybe
yeah, 40.
Canada will be the host for World Cup 2026. How you see it? Excited?
Yeah, I'm excited for the Canadian guys, especially some of the guys that I play with. There's some of the guys still there, especially like the goalkeeper Milan. He's still there doing well. I think he's at Red Star Belgrade, a big club. Atiba Hutchinson, who was the captain of Besiktas in Turkey, and PSV and FC Copenhagen, and he's one of the greatest players I played with too. He never loses the ball. He's always taking the opposite way that you think he's going, so you can never read him. There's only some players that I played against where I'm like, wow, you just cannot read where this guy wants to go. Like James, for example, Canada versus Colombia. James, you cannot see with you can't pressure, you can't even touch him with your arm. Another guy for Canadian was like Julian de Guzman, especially when he was in his prime playing at Deportivo. You cannot. And I was on, like, for example, I was on the bench for the national team when I was young, and I was well, my job was to put pressure on Julian, you know, because the A team is trying to prepare. I just have to put pressure on Julian. That's all I did. You know, I didn't have to touch the ball. I just have to touch him. I can't touch him because he's dropping his shoulder. He's going one way. He's dipping in and out. You can't even grab his jersey. And when you play with guys like that, you know, it's just, I don't know, their awareness, their talents. You can't foul them. So because they're working that hard, also, because I always say, if you're getting fouled, you're not working hard enough. And there's a lot of guys always looking for fouls, and that's the easy option. You know, the hard one is to not get touched. So, yeah, I think Canada, we always had good players for Canada. Everybody was playing in Europe, but we never had like 30, 40 guys playing in Europe. We had a group of 20 guys playing every single game at the top league of some European country. And if you compare that to US, the US had 100. And when I started back in 2006, we were at the same level because my teammate was a national team US player as well. And like, for example, like bonuses and first class travel, whatever, was the same. And then suddenly Canada just got left behind. America is like top class professionalism. Canada has a smaller budget, I guess. And plus the women's team was doing way better than us. So that didn't look good on us. You know, because they were always like top 3 in the world. And and the men's team was quite, far down. Even though we had guys in Tottenham, we had guys in Deportivo, PSV, FC Nordsjælland, and all over Bundesliga as well. So many guys, Frankfurt, and but now we have the media. Now we have the social media, because we didn't have social media really back then. And people think, oh, it's the best Canadian team ever. But I would argue, because if you look at the guys playing in the respectable countries or leagues, it's in no comparison. Okay, yeah, you have Alphonso Davies. Yes, there's always 2 or 3 guys, but we have way more guys playing in Europe. And if you compare the level to MLS, yeah, MLS is better, but still, it's not as compared to some of the European countries for me. So I think the level is about the same, but I don't want to quote the guy who told me this, but one of the Canadian players did say to me that the other teams' level dropped. So it's not that we are better now. It's the other teams are, like, Mexico is not as good as before. US is not as good as before. And so some of these qualifying games we're winning now, but that's because they dropped, but Canadian fans like to think, oh no, we're way better. Sure. I can't argue that. We can't go back in time. So whatever, to be honest. But I still think, and I think we have a good chance. Well, obviously, we didn't do so well, but in the last World Cup, but we were in the World Cup at least, and there's some good performances. But we're playing against Belgium, playing against some top teams, and to rub shoulders with those guys, it's always a great experience as a footballer. And I thought the guys did well, especially the guys that I know, and watching them at that stage, at that level, playing, it's I couldn't be prouder. Of course, I wanted to be there. Of course, because we were once for Brazil World Cup, we were one point away. Or was it Russia? So we were 1 point away from going. But a game against Honduras, the last qualification game, we pooped the bed, which means, yeah, we lost with the pressure. And but these guys are young and ambitious and professional as well mentally. So let me get back to your question. How would they do in the World Cup? Yeah, well, the budget for the Canadian soccer has gone down, so there's less games being played, which is not what you want when you got a hosting a World Cup, and the national team being part of that as well. So you want as much preparation as possible, and start solidifying the squad. There's always going to be injuries, and you always need good backup, and you want everybody to be playing at their domestic clubs, playing every game, and improving and progressing. And with that timing, the World Cup comes. So you want to make sure that you're on the right way. Yeah, I'm excited. I have all my Canadian jerseys. I wore it every day when the World Cup, going to the game, watching the games in Barcelona with my Canadian jersey, with my name on the back. Nobody thinks it's actually my jersey, of course.
Okay, I think almost 1 hour right now. So my last question
is it? Damn.
Yeah. So take a long time. Sorry. So my last question is, what's your words to all your fans, especially Malaysia fans that always support you?
I miss you guys. That's it.
Can you speak you how you know about Terengganu? The words. You know words, Terengganu words.
Oh.
That you remember.
Boleh. Yeah. Yeah. And Info Gila. That was always one. Info Gila. Oh my god, what else was there? There's so many. Bodo. Hey, you say Bodo. Got that a lot too. That's the other Malaysian guys, teammates. You say Bodo Gila. Yeah. That was usually. Sabah boleh tak? But that's
yeah. Okay. That's the Malaysia word. Okay,
well, that's my girlfriend. Yeah, that's my girlfriend. She's Malaysian, so she's always saying that to me.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Issey, for your time. Really appreciate it. When you come to Malaysia, let me know. I will invite you to our studio.
Nice. All right, perfect. I was thinking of going in hopefully October.
October we
Yeah.
have I think the cup for national, right? Pesta Bola Merdeka, I think for national team.
Nice.
Have a competition for Malaysia lah. We
Yeah.
organize. Okay,
Nice.
thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Cool.
Have
Thank
a
you
good
guys
day.
for
Hope
having
to
me.
see you soon. Bye bye. Take care.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks.
Bye bye.